I just got done interviewing Andrea Davis, the founder of Davis Commercial. They are a full service brokerage here in town, but they have such a cool story. Andrea actually started her career in culinary in New York and made a million pivots to open her firm and run it and where she wants it to go and grow. One of the things I really enjoyed talking to her with was just around the topic of young people wanting to get into brokerage. That conversation comes up in my life on a very regular basis. And she has a very unique approach and has a strong message. So if that interests you or you want to know more about her or her firm, please take a listen. It's a great conversation.
I'm Stephanie, a mother, a pilot. I don't know. Am I trying to say the same thing or just talk? Welcome to the Wisdom and Wealth podcast, where the stories you don't hear are the ones that matter most. I'm Stephanie, a mother, pilot, and commercial real estate professional with deep roots in Arizona. I was an entrepreneur at 24 and sold my first business at 27, and I've been navigating commercial real estate ever since. We are going to be sitting down with some of the biggest names in business around the Phoenix metropolitan area, as well as community leaders and nonprofit organizations that are continuing to improve our communities. I'm very excited for the things that they chose to share when they thought nobody was listening. What I've learned in hearing their stories aren't just the struggles and how we overcome them, but really building a network around you of people that know you, trust you, want to help you, and you are trying to give just as much to them as they give to you every single day. And never connecting that relationship to a transaction. It's about the relationships, the connections, and understanding the true stories that shape success. And I hope you find inspiration in the conversations we have.
I'm Andrea Davis. I'm with Davis Commercial AZ. I started the company about 12 years ago. It's gone through a lot of iterations. We're in a big growth phase right now, so we're super excited about that. What we do is we do brokerage. We are a top-rated full-service commercial brokerage firm. So we help small businesses, large businesses find office space, retail space, industrial space. We also work for the landlords sometimes when they're looking for tenants. Most businesses really do need some type of real estate footprint for their business to succeed. And they need to have the right ratio on their balance sheet of what they're spending for the real estate. And they have to look at their whole business plan, right? They need to sign a 3, 5, or 10-year lease. So they really need to think, is our business stable? Is it going to shrink in the next 5, 10 years, or is it going to grow? So we look at all of those different components and help them figure out what is the exact best real estate for them, what type of location do they need, what type of visibility, accessibility, what type of culture does the company want, what is their budget, So we look at all of that for those companies to help the real estate part of their business support the company goals.
Thank you for that. If you're open to it, one of the things that I believe is a misconception is where the brokerage lines are. So what to expect and not to expect. And to give you an example, I think a lot of times in a lease scenario, I've seen clients go, with my broker, I told him I needed this kind of zoning, but just what can you expect of your broker and what's a responsible place where your broker does kind of say these are a different set of professional services?
I'm just going to say that is an excellent question because we run into that all day long. And really, the average business only looks for commercial space maybe 1 to 5 times within their business cycle. So they don't know about it. I would say a good broker is one that asks the questions. What type of zoning does your business need, right? If it's industrial, it's a different zoning than in retail, or if it's office. And some of these professions, they cross over into a lot of different zonings. Is it the real estate agent's job to know what the zoning allows? No, that's the city's job. I believe it's the real estate, if we're service oriented, to help the client understand all the different components they need to make sure that they're in the right type of real estate for their business. Zoning is always important for any business, right? And if you're in a retail space, that space is maybe $60 a square foot. But if I can put that same business in an office building, a B office building, now we're looking $20 a square foot. That's 100% savings on their rent, right? But I'm the one that needs to say, we need to talk to the city about this. Here's the planning and zoning department. Make the call. If you're not comfortable, I'll get on the phone with you. We'll make the call. They can also look on the websites, but we're the source of the source. That's what it ends up, right? So anytime, any which way, whatever the question that tenant has, or the landlord has about their property, we will go and try to find answers for it. But it's always the third party that is the professional that helps them with it.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's interesting because I do a lot of lease work and then I do a lot of purchase and sell work. And it's so funny because the purchase and sell world, it's got all these sexy parts, right? It's got the day it opens and the escrow money goes in and there's a big closing and you get the keys. And a lease just keeps living. It's a living, breathing environment. So what made you kind of go into that direction more?
I do all of it. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm not a specialized lane of leasing. I've been in the industry 25 years. I can't tell you how many leases I've negotiated. For me, I love small businesses. I love helping businesses grow. They start out leasing, but how do they turn that into an asset, right?
Mhm.
That's through ownership. So
Mhm.
then we talk a lot about how long do they want to be in that lease so that they can make the next step to owning their own building, and when is the right time to do that. And then we work on lease versus purchase analysis. Don't worry, to the audience, you don't have to remember that. You just need to ask, when's the right time, and your broker hopefully, says, okay, let's look at that and evaluate that through a lease versus purchase analysis. And then you bring in lenders. But I love ownership. That's what the American dream is. That's what I believe. Look at this. You led right into it. This is my book,
I love
Simply Own It.
that.
And it's all about the American dream. It's the 9-step process on how a business owner can start owning their own real estate. I mean, who's the better tenant than yourself,
Mhm.
right? If you start making and you have extra money, then you go out and you buy an investment with another tenant in place. But you have an understanding of what it takes to manage a property and what all of that ownership is about. So, yes, I do both leasing and sales.
So I got a cheat sheet and I get to know a little bit more about you if you're filling out the questionnaire. But my favorite stories are pivot stories. It's I that, Andrea Davis didn't wake up as a 9-year-old little girl and go, I can't wait to own a brokerage firm. Like, how the hell did we get here?
Right.
So walk me through that path. What did you want to be right out of the gates, a young adult, graduating high school or college?
Well, what I always dreamed to be, this may shock you, Stephanie, but was a mom. I wanted to have 10, 15, 20 children. I love children. I love teaching. I always wanted to be a mom. I never thought that I wasn't going to get out of high school, get married, and start having children.
Mhm.
It just didn't work that way for me. I ended up going to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. So I'm a highly trained chef. I do still utilize that in my business today. Clients come in from out of town. I do the charcuterie board, or the employees, they get to participate in sourdough discard recipes every week. I use it all the time. Or clients, we close a deal. I invite them over to my house. I hand cook a meal. I serve the meal to them. My
What a
husband's also
value
from the
add.
industry. So, yes, and Stephanie, you'll be the next.
Very much looking forward to this. I'll do anything for a good meal. So then, okay, so we go to school for culinary. Are we from New York? We're in New York. Why New York?
Well, that was the best cooking school in the world other than Cordon Bleu in Paris. And yeah, I was an American. I grew up in the Midwest and in the country, and going to Paris just didn't seem like an option. So I went to the Culinary Institute. I learned a lot about food. I learned a lot about culture. I learned a lot about education. I really didn't expect to go to college. That was my college. It was a trade school. It was a 2-year trade school. And then I ended up in New York City. That was a big change for me, the little city slicker girl. Can't tell you how many scams I almost got caught up in. But after 5 years, I got the groove of it, and it really became home to me. And for there, I was in the restaurant industry there. I was working for Kitchens of New York. That was a Southwestern cuisine. And then I was doing a lot of baking for them. And I worked for Chumney's in the Village. And that was a speakeasy. We didn't even have a sign out or anything, but it had been around for 150, 200 years. That was really a cool experience. New Yorkers, they never do one thing. So I was on the track of being a runway model. I did a lot of showroom modeling. I did 5 years of acting training, voice training, clown training, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I just lived the New Yorker life. And Stephanie, you know how it is when you're doing 24/7, you just get burnt out after a
Yeah,
while.
absolutely.
You can only do it so many years. And after 12 years, I came out to Arizona just to kind of chill and put my head back together. And truth be had, Stephanie, my marriage was in a disastrous state. I had to make a decision. What was I going to do with that? But after 6 months of continually, and back in that day, it was the answering machine. I kept changing the answering machine and putting off all these different work I had. Seasonally, I had very good gigs in the fashion industry in New York City. So I would say, hey, I'll be back for next season. I'll be back for next season. And after 6 months, I realized I didn't want to go back. I physically could not leave Arizona. And I was having my conversations with God. What's my life about? I mean, I was in full-fledged crisis. So I didn't know what I was going to do. So when I came out here, I started waiting on tables. And it took me 3 years to kind of rediscover who I was and what I wanted to do. I still was no closer to having that family of 20 kids, I can assure you that. I ended up waiting on a table of 12 developers from Canada, and one of them needed help. And they had just opened an office here in Arizona. He needed help with organization. And he didn't ask me, but his partner said, hey, if you really want to get out of the restaurant industry, I can make an introduction. And lo and behold, I did get the job. I was shocked. I couldn't even type. And here I am, hired as an executive assistant, right?
You'll figure it out.
But exactly. You got to learn on the jobs. I can organize like there's no tomorrow. I can keep somebody on schedule. I'm a fast learner. And within 3 months, my boss, he could not live without me. And that was a nice 3-year introduction into, he was a big developer, mixed use projects, infill projects. So I had a 3-year learning curve of what is it like to be a developer and all of that kind of stuff. So I was privy to everything behind the scenes, and it was super exciting, and I so much got hooked. And I would probably be with him today, except he moved back to Canada, and I was like, man, I just got out of New York City. I don't want to go back to that cold weather. I mean, you're in Arizona, right?
Yeah, I'm born and raised.
Yeah, of course. I mean, why do we want to go anywhere else?
I wouldn't.
So that was my pathway into commercial real estate. And when he went to Canada, I stepped into brokerage, worked for some different companies. I did end up getting married, and we have a gorgeous daughter. She's 19 now. And during that downturn, 2008, 9, 10, I know this is really traveling back in time for a lot of people, but real estate was hard. I moved to a different firm, and that was downtown. It was 40 minutes from my house versus 10 minutes. So I could no longer see my daughter in the morning or for lunches or the afternoon. I was showing off my office to her one day. This is like 2 years. And she goes, Mommy, your office is so great. Now I know where you're working. She goes, but I don't get to see you anymore. Oh my God.
Oh.
The tears,
Oh.
Stephanie. So I just went in the manager's office and I said, here's my 2-week notice. I have to quit.
Good for you.
And that's what I did. I packed up my bags. And I had clients that were still wanted to work with me. So I said, okay, I'll just see what happens. I'll just play, run it. You know how it is. If you don't keep putting the message out there, people stop calling. Well, they kept calling. And after 5 years, I had a business. And I said, maybe I better brand myself. And then my branding became successful. And I was getting a lot of information, clients online. I mean, who can say that, right? We're usually door knocking. We're told to do the cold calling, make the calls, make 100 calls a day. I got more business than I could handle. So my bookkeeper, she was very talented. She had been doing property management for commercial real estate. So I said, Christine, you got to work for me, right? She goes, oh my gosh, I don't think so, Andy. I'm like, you can do this. So she got her license. And she's 7 years with the company now. She's our top producer, has been for the last 3 years. So eventually I got enough people where I was like, oh, this is not comfortable being in my house anymore. So my dream was to own an office condo, exactly what small businesses want. So I bought an office condo in the air park, and all of a sudden it just started happening, right? Potential young brokers would come through the office and they wanted to be hired. All of a sudden I'm a legitimate business. I have a real address, a business address, and we have very high level meetings and all of that kind of stuff. I really feel finally like, hey, I'm a businesswoman. I never expected to be a businesswoman, but here I am. I don't know. How about you?
It's a series of pivots that make no sense on paper. None.
Right.
Zero. But it's one of those things. I feel like I started in flight school, trade school, essentially.
Oh
I was
my.
a pilot right out of the gates. That's serving me well these days. No. But then I opened up women's gyms, and then during the recession, I went to Hawaii and opened up the solar market for Sunrun, and so it's just there was a
Wow.
component of each thing that
Mhm.
pivoted me, and it doesn't make any sense at all, but I believe in my heart of hearts to what you just spoke to is the hustle. If you have
Mm.
hustle in your heart, you will never fail. You'll never fail. If you've got that determination where you something is not right for me, New York became not right for you, and you
Mhm.
you had to make that move. You had to look your kid in the eye without a job and say, "You're right," and follow that. And just to know that the confidence is there if you know you have the hustle. I will figure the next thing out, whatever it is, and 9 times out of 10, it lands in your lap. And I don't believe in coincidences. I'm strong on my faith, but different topic, different day. But I just believe, and I don't know how you would feel, but I love the food service industry. Love. So no matter what business I've been a part of or running, if somebody has food service in their background, they can hustle. They can deal with the chaos, face with a smile, deal with it later, compartmentalize maybe to an unhealthy degree. But you've got this ability to serve and you've got this willingness to serve. And some people are never in their life willing to pick up a plate for somebody.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that takes a person, that takes a thing to be never above anything as long as it's serving what you're trying to do.
It's character building and it shows who they are. There are a lot of people that just are not cut out for this industry. They're not self-starters, they're not go-getters. We get beat down almost on every phone call, right? So we need to lift each other up. And one of my crucial things within my company is so many companies I worked for, the people that I'm working for are beating me down every day. They were telling me I wasn't doing a good enough job. And here I am, I have lists and I outperformed everybody else and I'm still not doing a good enough job. I don't do that in my company. You come in my office, you get a hug, you get baked goods, you get patted on the back. I say thank you. I say please. I am here to serve them, right?
Mhm.
So that they can get out there and they can do their job and what they want to do in life. It's all about that helping others so that they can help others.
Mhm. And being above nothing. And to your point, it's how do you best articulate those soft items that matter so much? So when I left the construction world, I went into the title world. And the office
Ooh.
I was in was learning curve through the roof. And I just never had anything to compare the experience to, right? I thought, my gosh, this is crazy cutthroat. This is incredibly stressful. People don't seem to like each other much, but maybe I don't know what they do behind their computers all day and they don't know nor they care what I do. So whatever. Made the introduction to Vicky with Landmark and she just had this warmth to her. And I just liked her. I liked the
Mhm.
person. I didn't even know that I liked the industry because of the experience I was having. The first day I walked into that office, people looked you in the eye, they smiled, a cute little, puppy dog runs by. It was just this amount of warmth that gets you through the crap that we have to deal with
Yes.
every day. Wisdom and Wealth is brought to you by Landmark Title. Their team sets the standard for personal attention, security, and service because that's what's important to you and it's important to them. Learn more about their commercial and residential title and escrow services at ltaag.com. Landmark Title, where experience matters. I think I am capable of one adjective. And I always say that in real estate, there's always going to be shit. But I want to be in the shit with people who give a shit
Mm.
so we can get shit done. It's going to happen. It's who do you want to do it with? Who do you
Right.
trust you're going to get through it together?
Yeah, we need a safe haven because it's chaos out there in the world. If it's not our client, it's the economy or it's the property that they want to lease or the land they want to buy. It's just all chaos. And every element of that chaos needs solutions, stability, somebody who cares, who can think and get the transaction to the end of the day. I think that just speaks to life, right? How do
Mhm.
we get up every day and enjoy our day,
And love
smile and
it.
laugh, and yeah,
And
love
love
it.
it. You have to love it.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's too hard if you don't.
Yeah.
It's too hard. The other thing I wanted to ask you, and I was like, really excited to ask you this because I do a lot of mentoring across the board in AEC in a bunch of different spaces. When I find the right person, I don't just do it to
Mm.
do it. I usually fall in love with the person and go, how do I help you?
Oh, that's a
But what,
smart idea.
you know what I mean? Because your picker is not broken. You can see the people that have it. Obviously, the person you picked is the top performer, right? Like, duh.
Mhm.
But the thing that I don't know how to help are the people that young professionals that want to go into brokerage. They want to do it, they want that career, but they're so afraid to starve in order to get there.
Mm.
How do we best encourage people to take that leap, or where do they go from the desire to next step?
That is another great question. I just love the questions that you're coming up to. The truth is, if they're not willing to take that leap of faith, they're not cut out to be in this industry, right? Because they can't get through the tough situations that we face with every single step of that transaction. So that's part of it. When they come in and they interview with me, I just let them ask them, how are you going to survive the next year? And then they'll, well, are you going to give me a retainer? Are you going to give me a draw? I'm like, sorry, no, I didn't get it. I said, you can take out a loan. You can take out a second on your house if you have one. You can ask your grandmother to help you out or your parent. I just hired a young gentleman 2 or 3 months ago. He came in, we were talking for 5 minutes. I said, what are you going to do in your first year? And he sat there and he broke it down. He says, my mom's going to help me out here. My dad's going to help me out here. And my grandmother's going to help me out the rest of the way. I approached it like this is my MBA and that they're helping me get through that 1 year of school for my MBA. Will they do it? And he sold that to his family. Okay. And I said, you're hired right there. And then he's like, oh, really? What? Huh? I said, you're hired. Do you want the job? He goes, well, let me think about it. Well, thank goodness he came back. And he's really a rock star. Okay, he's super smart. Stephanie, I'm sure you see it. We see those diamonds in the rough, right? They don't recognize it in themselves. For you and I, it's about inspiring them and lighting that spark so that they can really be the best person they are within the industry. Now, I've done this enough. And I love mentoring. I'm very hands-on. That my office is an open door. Come in. You can sit in on any transaction almost, unless it's super high confidentiality. You can just be a fly on the wall. I want them to learn everything. Now, a few of them felt so empowered after a year that they want to just go out and do their own thing. I mean, that's a big loss. You and I know it's a loss to the company. It's a loss and a little bit of a heartache because we invest so much into it of our heart, right?
And we pay the upfront investment. It's that person's
Yes.
choice to stick it through. But
Right.
our debt is on the table.
Yes, exactly. And now, I mean, I keep asking God, how many times do I have to pay it forward, right? Like, there's got to be a little give back here sometime. So,
I'm a good person.
oh my gosh, we'll see where that goes. But again, if they're not willing to figure out that first step, I've often different plans come in and you'll work 2 or 3 hours. I'll pay you to do the marketing and you can do the brokerage along with that because understanding the brokerage, you need to understand the marketing anyways. I try creative ways to help them out. I'll let them get out of the work early if they have a night job, but how hard is, I mean, how many times did you have 2 jobs at one time in your
I don't know
life?
that I ever have it.
Right. We're a mother. That's job number one. And then we run our companies. That's job number two. And then we have all of our clients. That's job number three. I mean, I guess you and I could just keep going on. But if they're not willing to even do that, they're just not cut out for the business. They might as well go work for Walmart. Or I told one guy, I said, really, you're not cut out for this. Maybe you want a job at Amazon or something. You need somebody that's, wants to play the, they want to be you want me to be politically correct. I don't need to be politically correct. My clients aren't. They don't want me that way. I said, if you need that type of environment, there is nothing wrong with that. You just need to go out and get yourself hired over there. You need that steady paycheck. You want to be pampered. You want to, you just want to live in that world. Then go live in that
Go
world.
find it. Yeah, go find what fits you and serves you best. But my biggest message to anyone I mentor right now is it's called work for a reason. It's going to be hard. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be inconvenient. It's
I'm
going to
going
be
to
a
steal
pain.
that.
It's called work for a reason. We can love what we do, but it's called work for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So pivot a little bit if you don't mind. And I know this is going to catch you off guard, so I don't apologize because I think the answer will be better as a result. What's the time, don't care if it was yesterday or 25 years ago, that you wished you would have been kinder to yourself?
Well, you know what? I could wake up every single day and say that the internal dialogue that goes on in my head that beats me up, is relentless. And Stephanie, I have been working on this consciously since my early 20s. I've had all these different episodes that brought me into my spiritual self very early on. I know I'm on this earth for a reason. I'm living my purpose. I'm living multiple purposes. But it doesn't even matter what we're doing. Everybody's living their purpose at the exact right time, which is right now. Because we are all perfect. We're all fit into this intricate puzzle, right? But I have this dialogue that doubts myself, that questions myself, that it's just this nagging thing. And I always turn it into the positive when I can catch myself. But there's some days that
It just runs in the background.
yeah, and I do things, visualizations where I boom, boom, I take that. You know how you go into a building and you turn the electric power off? I go, boom, I'm turning this off. This is gone, out of here, right? And then the next day, it's just that. So that's my daily challenge is to get rid of that nag. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's 10% of the time, where it used to be all of the time. And I wasn't even conscious of it way back then. But even with all the mantras and all of the positive affirmations and the refining of the affirmations and the writings and the journals and I could go on forever. I mean, why do you think I got into acting? I got into acting to figure out who the heck I was. I was acting in the real life, and on stage, that is inauthentic. So I had to figure out who I was so that I could really be Andrea on the stage. You got to bring the greatest actors bring themselves to the stage in any character that they're playing. So all that 5 years in acting, solid acting training was psychoanalysis on myself, right?
Literally.
So did I answer the question?
You did. It's an interesting concept because I love that where we're at now as a whole, that behavioral health has found its way into our everyday culture and life and understanding, and we're learning it, right? It's not just something we don't talk about and we just battle internally, individually. But that voice, and I'm going back to thinking about the women I'm mentoring, is what's holding them back. And it's unfortunate because it's like, you can't shut it off. It's real. And some of it is focusing on why. Why do I
Mm,
feel that? Why is that thing hitting my brain? And usually I find peace once I conquer the why. The why, I'll go, oh, because I'm insecure because I think that person's upset with me. And now I'm beating myself up in 17 ways, but that's the source of the reaction.
mhm, mhm.
You know what I mean? And then, like, it's like couples counseling, right? You don't fight each other, you fight the problem. If you're really good
Right.
on it, good luck. But but I think that's a lot of, like, if you hear that noise, what I really try to think through is, okay, my voice is telling me something. It's not manifesting in a helpful way, but why is it telling that to me? And how do I go whack-a-mole that thing, whatever that thing
Mhm,
is?
mhm.
And it can't be the girl that was mean to me in 8th grade on the playground. It has to be something real.
Well, exactly. I mean, you and I, we walk in a room and real quickly we can see where somebody emotionally stopped growing,
Yes.
right? And it's usually in those teenage years because they don't want to deal with that pain. That growth spurt is so painful, leaving the nest, that warm, nurturing nest of, generally parents that really love you, into the world of cat eat cat, et cetera, et cetera. As a mentor, we can't run away from those issues from those young individuals. You know,
Mhm.
I love what you are doing, is saying, what is the why? Let's go back to the source of it and see if we can maybe at least identify it and acknowledge it. And then that might just dissipate. And we're more conscious of it as we're going forward. And now we're reacting to something. We're not reacting to something, we're taking an action on
Mhm.
something. We're taking that moment to take the breath before we respond, versus lashing out or something like that. Because none of that stuff helps us in our personal life or our business life.
I completely agree. The other thing I really wanted to ask you, because of how many pivots you've navigated and having success and owning your own firm and having to hand off some of the things that maybe were uncomfortable to hand off, is whether you're seasoned in your career or new to the field or anything in between, how do you process how to spend your time? Let's say somebody wants you to do committee work, or you want to give some time to a nonprofit, or you want to call block more. Is this time really available that I can give?
Gosh, another good question. Well, the lights don't stay on unless we make money.
Mhm.
That's the bottom line. So everything is transaction driven. Where what is the most important transaction? Which one has the highest percentage of closing and when. So that's always the top priority. Then everything else flows down from that, which is filling the funnel with possible leads. And then where do we get the leads from? Defining what it is we want to do within the marketplace and identifying who the audience is or who our potential clients are and howing to get out there and network with them. I mean, the truth is in commercial real estate, you're kind of on 24/7, right? You might be sitting at a bar having a drink with girlfriends and somebody says, oh my gosh, I need to find this space. My boss is nagging on me. We need 5,000 square feet. Well, hey, of course I'm going to hear that. I'm going to step in on her conversation. You have to be a little bit bold, but time management is not easy. And I think it's prioritizing what's the most important for the business and yourself. You do have to have that balance of work, live, play. So I allow myself to play pickleball. It was tennis before pickleball. And believe it or not, Stephanie, I get clients. I mean, from the pickleball, it's a very social sport. I've been doing it a year. I've gotten 2 deals out of it and lead to a great networking group and beautiful women that I've met, right? Some of them are business professionals, some are retired, some are, aren't, but we just have a good time and they're smart. It's really fun. So, I take that time for my personal health to do that, but I also know that I'm always listening for somebody that I can be of service to again.
That's a really beautiful point. Vicky and I were just having this conversation where, I'm actually an introvert by design, and I'm a forced extrovert. I can get through it, but I struggle with it, right? I really struggle to go to networking events and just work the room. There's nothing more dreadful in my life than that. I can public
Believe
speak.
me.
I can go one-on-one, but if you tell me to make small talk 17,000 times, I just want to puke with nerves. But I will force myself to sit in a space which I know is strategic. And so don't sit at your office every day and grab lunch and eat it at your desk. Go downstairs if you're in the Esplanade and eat at one of the restaurants. Put your butt at the Henry, you can still work, but physically just trying to double down on that time. And there's been so many times, even recently, I've gotten really large clients just from being nosy, sitting at the right bar.
Exactly. And I think your point is so well made. We have to be uncomfortable, get out of that, to make business, to create business. We have to get out of our comfort zone, step out there and put ourselves on the line. Because that's the only way that we're going to achieve what we're going to achieve.
Or grow. You're never growing if you're comfortable.
And grow. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love this conversation, Andrea. And is there anything in closing that either A, I didn't ask you, or B, what makes your firm something like, what do we plant in our brain when we think of Davis? What do you want us to think?
I think that we're here to take care of your needs, your commercial real estate needs, and help you through that whole entire process. Doesn't matter if it's land, if it's industrial, if it's an investment property. We do it all. We have very seasoned professionals in all sectors of commercial real estate, and we're going to handhold our clients as much as they want to be handheld. And you know as well as I do, some of them, they know it all. They don't want the handholding. Just present me the property. And then we subtly let them know what they need to really be asking the questions about.
And you just make it their idea.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, I think that's really what it's about.
I love it. And thank you for taking the time to do this. I love to share stories, and yours is extra special.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better. And you do this exceptionally well. Exceptionally well. I mean, you're engaging, you ask really pinpoint questions, and you keep it moving. I mean, it's been a delight, really. Thank you so much. It's an art. What you're doing is an art, so keep doing it.
Andrea, I'm just nosy.
I love that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you out there in the real world.
See ya. Go get them.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope the conversation was inspiring for you. I hope you got a few laughs out of it and learned a thing or two. Please like, subscribe, and love you. See you next time. Now we're in the streets, y'all. I'm a mom.